We start today. Of course, we have we discussed the tutorial. We discussed, yeah, tutorial. I think almost we discussed tutorial. We finished. Tutorial we finished. Quiz we finished that. Yeah, then. This one is income. Elasticity. Discuss. Yeah. Right. Okay. Elasticity we discuss. Yeah, we started here. I'll summarize. Yeah. Right. Last week we first finished the quiz number 4. Actually, first question I wanted you to draw the demand and supply diagram and find the equilibrium price and quantity. Without drawing, we found the equilibrium price and quantity. Equilibrium price was, as I can remember, 17. Quantity was 6.5 million toasters, right? Then we asked there was a question, when price is above the equilibrium price, 17, below the equilibrium price, what is the market situation? Then we asked the next question, the bread price, bread and toasters. We discuss what will happen to the demand for toasters. Then a new product is coming to the market. New product is coming to the market. That is a toaster oven. Then what would happen to the demand for toasters? Demand, equilibrium price and quantity of toasters, existing product. That also we discuss shifting the demand curve, the downward. Demand for when new product coming into the market, demand for the existing product comes down, right? Because some of the consumers shift their consumption from the existing product to the product, new product, right? Like that. Then last question, of course, that's very important. Quantitative type question. Demand curve is given mathematically, supply curve is given mathematically. Then how to calculate equilibrium price and quantity? That is the basic mathematical approach to demand supply analysis. That's very important. Right? Okay. Today we'll again come back to this our normal lesson, the effect of price and income on demand quantities. Under this, we discuss the price elasticity of demand, because I said that we are going to discuss the 4 elasticities: price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, the cross price elasticity of demand, and price elasticity of supply. Elastic, how elastic? That's the meaning, general meaning, layman's language, right? So the price elasticity of demand, we try to understand using the demand curve. Some demand curves are steep, some are flatter, some are vertical, some are horizontal, right? Then different goods have different shapes of the demand curve. Then we ask, wow, it is always negatively sloped. The law of demand says it is negatively sloped. Then we ask why. We want to quantify the law of demand. We try to quantify the law of demand. For example, the one can say, I know law of demand. There is a negative relationship between price and the quantity demanded. Need demand curve is downward sloping, I know. But you can ask the question, suppose price changes by 10%, by how much quantity demanded changes? If the price increases by 10%, by how much quantity demanded decreases? Quantification. This the elasticity try to answer this question. Percentage change in quantity demanded when price changes by 1%. Price elasticity of demand. Percentage change in quantity demanded when price changes by 1%. If the price changes, if quantity demanded changes by more than the price change, demand is said to be elastic. If demand changes less than the price change, demand is said to be inelastic. If demand does not change at all due to price change, demand is said to be perfectly inelastic, vertical demand. Demand changes by infinitely large amount. Demand is perfectly elastic. Demand curve is horizontal. That up to that point we discuss. After that we try to discuss measures, then the definition, relationship between price PED and the demand curves. 4 demand curves. We discuss the relatively elastic, relatively inelastic, perfectly inelastic, perfectly elastic demand curve. Then we discuss definition, how to define PED. Percentage change in quantity demanded when price changes by 1%. Okay, numbers. Elasticity 0, perfectly inelastic, no change in the quantity demanded, whatever the price. Then small change in quantity demanded, 0.5, when price changes by 1%, relatively inelastic. 1 to 1, when price changes by 1%, quantity demanded changes by 1%, unitary elastic. 1.5, that means for 1% change, 1.5% change in quantity demanded, that is called relatively elastic. 1% change, infinite large change in quantity demanded, perfectly elastic demand. Right. Then the important question we ask, who used, what are the uses of this the price elasticity of demand? Last time we proved that yes, it's a very useful, important concept, price elasticity of demand. It can be used by the policymakers. It can be used by the treasury, government treasury. It can be used by the traders. It can be used by the producers, right? How? What is the relationship between the pricing policy, the tax policy, and the elasticity, right? If the demand is elastic, more than the price change. Elastic, when the price of that good increases, revenue will go down because people cut down the demand, quantity demand more than the price change. Elastic demand, revenue declines. If P rises by 10%, Q falls by more than 10%. Elastic demand. Percentage, then total revenue declines as a result of the price rise. If the elasticity is, let's say, 2, minus 2, which is always negative, minus 2, that means elastic demand. Then if price of that good increases, revenue will go down more than, the revenue will go down because when price increases, people cut down the demand more than the price change, revenue goes down. Right? P rises by 10%, Q falls less than 10%, inelastic demand. In that case, if the good is inelastic, when price increases, revenue increases. Price increases, revenue increases. Elastic demand, price increases, revenue decreases. The demand is inelastic, price increases, revenue increases. So if the trader knows, if the producer knows, trader knows that this his product market demand is inelastic, definitely by increasing the price, he can get higher revenue. At the same time, first case, if the trader knows his demand curve is flatter, demand for his good is elastic, if you increase the price, definitely revenue will go down. So best pricing policy is to cut down the price, then revenue will increase. Last one, if P rises by 10%, Q falls by 10%, 1 to 1. Unitary elastic, then pricing policy will not work. If you increase or decrease the price by 1%, 10%, people will respond, consumers will respond by changing their quantity demanded, same amount, no change in revenue, percentage wise. So that is the third case. So that's why government, treasury, every budget increase the price of cigarettes, price of alcoholic products, strong alcohols, price of tobacco products, right? Why is that? because those products are inelastic, has inelastic demand in consumption. People, the consumption, therefore, only they increase the price. Government increase the price by imposing taxes. Government tax revenue will go up. Inelastic demand, price increases, revenue increases, tax revenue increases. I gave one example, one of the budgets, 1995, the government cut the price of beer. Reduce the price of beer, treasury, from budget. People were surprised. But treasury people, they know. They studied, they have some idea about the demand of beer in Sri Lankan case. At that time, it was elastic demand, had elastic demand. When demand is elastic, you cut the price, revenue increases. That's what happens, right? That is the price elastic. Then next question we ask, determinants, factors. Last week we said we identified the availability of substitutes. If more substitutes are available for a product, demand is elastic, flat. Demand curve is flat, not steep. The more substitutes are available, demand is more elastic. Elasticity greater than 1. Right? -2, -3, -5. Because the other thing is, when you say elastic or inelastic, forget about the number. -2, you take only 2. -3, only 3. If it is greater than 1, we say it is elastic. -0.5, -0.8, -0.3, without the sign, they are less than 1, inelastic. So the more substitutes are available for a good, the demand of that good is relatively more elastic. Demand curve is flatter. Percentage change in quantity demanded more than the price change. That is the thing. Toothpaste versus insulin. Insulin, of course, highly inelastic demand. You can say it is perfectly inelastic demand, right? Therefore, the availability of substitutes, one of the key determinant of price elasticity of demand, key determinant. Second one, proportion of income spent on the good, proportion of income. Proportion of income. Now, in the consumption, the basket, household consumption, you divide food, electricity, education, health, clothing. Then these are the major items. So the out of our total income, maybe we spent 15% on food, another 15% on education. Let's say another 10% on health, medical items, right? Like that, you can distribute total, calculate percentage distribution of your income, expenditure across broader categories. But at the same time, if you take food category, one of these categories, there are small items like condiment, salt, right? You don't care about their percentage, the expenditure of the total expenditure is negligible. So therefore, when price of those goods increases, you don't look for the substitutes. You go and check whether substitutes are available because you don't care. The proportion of income spent on the good is very small. If price changes by 10% or 15%, you don't care. You don't change the quantity demanded by that much. Inelastic demand. Smaller the proportion, smaller the elasticity. If smaller the consumer spending on a certain good, smaller the proportion of expenditure or service, that will tend to have relatively inelastic demand. Smaller the proportion of income spent on the good, demand is relatively inelastic. Higher the proportion, higher the elasticity. Right? With the higher the proportion, so some items, vehicles, in elastic demand, when price changes by a certain percentage, we go for the other brands. Sometimes we postpone our decision. We cut down the demand more than the price change, right? We delay our decisions. Therefore, in elastic demand is very sensitive. Proportion of income is much higher. Therefore, demand is elastic. Okay. Next one, the period of time. Third factor that determine the elasticity. For different goods are different elasticity, different shapes of the demand curve. Some are elastic, some are inelastic, some are perfectly inelastic, some are perfectly elastic. Right? Period of time is important. Period of time, you can think of 70 to 1970 to 78 period. Very short period, 8 years. Or you can think of 1970 to 2000, longer period. Short period, long period. Short run, long run. Short run demand, long run demand. Define the elasticity different from the period of time. For example, oil. Now 1970 to 76 period, world had the shock. Oil price shock 1976, yes. The or price shock, the OPEC countries increased their price of oil. Huge increase in prices, price of crude oil. Lots of developed countries, people had hardships, very difficulties. The cost of being increased because the oil is a very essential item in their consumption because everybody has a car. They are using this car. Oil, then heating purposes using, right? So therefore, their cost of being increased. At that time, world didn't have that much of the substitute products, no nuclear products, no nuclear electricity, no hydropower, no the biogas, right? No wind power. 76, long time ago, right? Very short, 70 to 77 period, people depended only on oil, mostly on oil, crude oil. When price increases, they don't have any other choices. But that is short run demand is inelastic, relatively inelastic. You can say it is perfectly inelastic, very steep demand curve. But in the long run, people found more and more substitute products for oil, biogas, wind power, solar power, nuclear power, lots of substitute products. Then when oil price increases, people quickly change their demand to other products. Long run demand is more elastic. Short run demand curve is steeper, but long run demand curve will be flatter. Why? Availability of substitutes. Over a longer period of time, people can alter spending habits or find more substitutes. People can change the spending habits also, but more substitutes. Thus, elasticity may be greater the longer the period under review. Short run, long run. Now, 1950s, Sri Lanka had very few banks. HNB, People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon. No foreign banks. Right? Foreign banks, the private banks are very small number. Right? Now we had around 25 banks. Right? So the demand for banking service, 1950s, if you consider only 10-year period, then 1950 to 60, inelastic. People didn't have that much of choices. Demand for banking services, inelastic. Now, you have 25 banks, 26 banks. You have demand is more elastic, banking services. Demand curve is flatter. Over a longer period of time, people can alter, find more substitute. Thus, elasticity may be greater the longer the period under review. Right? Okay. These are the three key factors of the determinants of price elasticity of demand. Why different goods have different elasticity? Now, right. Read this question and read these three questions, and I will give you 5 minutes. 5 minutes to read these questions. After that, we'll answer. right? Read the questions. Two minutes. I'll give 2 minutes. Please read. Read the question. If you can't hear me, please tell me. Please tell me. If you can't hear me, please tell me. Please tell me. I believe you all can read and listen. Right. Let's start. Question. There are three questions. Which do you expect to have the greater price elasticity? Higher price elasticity. The demand for gold leaf cigarettes or the demand for all cigarettes? Demand for gold leaf, one particular brand type cigarettes, or the all cigarettes, cigarette as a group. As a group. How do you answer that question? When you take gold leaf cigarettes, you have more substitute products. Substitute products, cigarettes, other type of cigarette, imported cigarettes are there. Then you have the Dunhill, the Silk Carton, the Matterhorns, cigarettes and gold leaf. Then Three Roses. I think here in Sri Lanka we have the Four Aces. I am not quite sure the other type of cigarettes, right? Then the substitute, more substitute product. But if you take cigarette as a whole, one group, not that much of substitute. Maybe chewing beetle, one substitute, chewing gum, one or two substitutes, right? But cigarettes you have more substitute, more and more substitute. Therefore, demand for gold leaf cigarette is more elastic. Elasticity greater than one, than relatively more elastic than the demand for cigarettes as a whole group. As a cigarette as a group, they don't have substitute. Chewing beetle, maybe one the substitute, otherwise chewing gum. But cigarettes, you have more and more cigarettes, large number of other type of cigarettes, right? Therefore, the demand for gold leaf cigarettes more elastic, relatively more elastic than cigarettes. Question number 2, same. The demand for Colgate toothpaste, one particular brand, large number of substitutes. But as toothpaste as a one group, you don't have substitutes in Sri Lankan case. Early, long time ago, there were tooth powder. Gopal, one tooth powder was there, right? Sometime long time ago, people use the roots of some plants to clean their teeth. Long time ago, right? So the medicinal type the plants, right? Their roots are used, but as a group, they don't have that much of substitute. Therefore, but the Colgate tooth, Colgate, Signal, TNG, Sudanta, large number of products. Imported the toothpaste, like the lots of. Therefore, demand for the Colgate toothpaste is relatively more elastic than toothpaste as a group. Demand for fuel, no substitutes, relatively very less substitutes, lesser number of substitutes. Demand for cars, different brands, different color, different options. So they have. So therefore, demand for fuel, less elastic. Demand for cars, more elastic. Greater price elasticity than demand for fuel. Right? Because the determinant is availability of substitutes. All these three questions, availability of substitutes. By looking at availability of substitutes, we determine. If more substitutes are available, demand is more elastic. No substitutes are available, demand is perfectly inelastic. Very few substitutes are available, demand compared to other product, relatively inelastic. Right. It has been estimated, next question, price elasticity of demand for haircuts is minus 1.4 for 25 to 30 year olds. 25 to 30 years old, demand for haircuts is 1.4. Value greater than 1. Without the sign, value greater than 1. 1.4. Therefore, it is elastic. But the 0.45 for the 45 to 75 years old, now like our age, my age, demand is inelastic. 0.45. Your age, between 25 to 30, your generation, Less than that, maybe lower, not sometimes you may not 10 or 25 years old, less than that, then it is elastic. Why is that? Demand for haircuts. 25 to 30, demand curve is flatter. 45 to 74, demand curve is steeper. Steeper means inelastic. Flatter means elastic. 1.4 versus 0.45. How would you account for the difference? Why is that? What is the reason? What are the reasons? Think of. Can you tell me what are the reasons? Young age groups, demand is more elastic, relatively more elastic. Old age group, demand is inelastic. Reasons? Can one of you tell me what is the reason? Can one of you tell me? Reasons? What are the reasons? Yes? Go. Tell me what are the reasons? Why? Same one service, demand for haircuts. Haircuts is a service. Young age group, demand is elastic. Old age group, demand is inelastic. What is the reason? Remember the factors: availability of substitutes, proportion of income, period of time. So what are the factors? Can you tell me? One of you answer me? Please. What is the reason? Just, I don't mind, maybe it's wrong, right or wrong. Please just tell me the reason. Yes? Hello? Hello? Can you tell me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Please speak. Can you hear me? Answer. Please answer.
Trends and fashions.
Switch on your mic and answer. Yeah, please. Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello? Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Hello?
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 What is that? How many people are there today?
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Right. So 25 to 30 years old, demand is more elastic. Demand for haircuts elastic. Then the 45 to 74 years old, demand is inelastic. Reason is, you can say, addiction. For the old age group, sometimes they go to the addiction, same hairstyle. They don't mind about going to the addiction, same haircut, same style, same haircut, same haircutter, like that. But the other people, the young age group, they look for different the haircuts, right? Different haircut, different fashions, different models. Models are there, so different fashions are coming, right? That is one reason. But another reason is proportion of income. Proportion of income spent on the good. Proportion of income spent on the good. Right? Proportion of income spent on the good is higher for the young age group compared to the old age group. Proportion is small. They are getting higher income. The proportion is smaller. Therefore, demand is inelastic. But the 25 to 30 years old, their income is not that high. Of that group, they have to spend relatively high percentage for haircuts. Therefore, demand is more elastic. Higher the proportion of income, higher the elasticity. Smaller the proportion of income, smaller the elasticity. Elastic. That is the reason. Right? Okay. That is one of the last question. Last question. Hello. Chalana. Chalana. Pොඩ්ඩක් එනවද මේ මගේ කාමරේට චලන වසන්ත. වසන්ත 6 point. Then last question, the price elasticity of demand for housing is 0.75 inelastic. Inelastic demand. Remember inelastic demand. Suppose that the price of housing falls by 10%. Falls, decreased by 10%. What happened to the quantity demanded? Quantity demanded increases. According to law of demand. By how much? 7.5%. Make it point. Make it a student started. Make it 1,000. Make it 76 money. Give me comments or give a month. මෙතනින් බලන්නත් වන්නේ අදනේ වල දාලා තියෙනවා ස්පීකර් එකේ මොකද දැන් ස්පීකර් එකෙන් only the speaker එකනේ all right. Hello, can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
All right, very good. Sorry. Yeah. Speaker, I had a problem here. Right. Okay. Right. Thank you. Right. Okay. Sure. The price elasticity of demand for housing is minus 0.75 inelastic demand. Suppose the price of housing falls by 10%. Price of housing falls by 10%. Quantity demand increases by how much? 7.5%. Inelastic demand. Price falls by 10%. Demand increases by 7.5%. Inelastic demand, right? What happens to total expenditure or revenue of the expenditure on housing? Inelastic demand, price decreases. Then what will have total expenditure? Expenditure also decrease. Expenditure decreases, right? Price falls, inelastic demand, price falls, revenue or the expenditure falls. If other way around, inelastic demand, if price increases, revenue or the expenditure increases. You have proved. Now, in this particular case, housing has inelastic demand, less than 1.7. When price falls by 10%, people increase the demand. Not 10%, less than 10%, 7.5%. Therefore, what will happen? Revenue or the expenditure falls. Revenue or the expenditure falls. These are the answers. Please think about that. Answer those questions. Income elasticity of demand. We quickly go through. Similar to the price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand is defined as it is the responsiveness of quantity demanded to price change. When price or income changes. So the ID is the responsiveness of demand to small changes in income. It is defined as the percentage change in quantity demanded resulting a 1% change in income. Like same definition as in price elasticity. Percentage change formula is there. Percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in income. If the delta I denominator is 1, that means 1% change in income. ID equals delta QD percentage. What does that mean? ID equal percentage change QD. Now you can define what is that? Income elasticity of demand is the percentage change in quantity demanded when consumers' income changes by 1%. That is ID. So the ID is slightly different from PD. PD always minus plus, 0, infinity. But ID can be positive. Income elastic demand can be positive. It can be negative. It can be greater than 1. It can be between 0 and 1. All 4 cases. ID is positive means, ID positive means ID positive means we call that particular category of goods is called normal good. Rice, bread, then dal, yakat, they are positive. Income elastic of demand, positive, right? Then normal good. Negative means that particular category of goods is called inferior goods. Inferior good. ID positive, normal good. What does that mean? When income increases, demand also increases. It's positive. Inferior good, ID negative. When income increases, quantity demand decreases. Inferior good. ID greater than 1. When income increases by 1%, demand increases by more than 1%. Luxury good. Necessity good, it is positive, but between 0 and 1. Between 0 and 1. Rice, necessities. The necessity goods are rice, dal, bread, the vegetables, fish. Most of the consumption good food items, it is a necessity. It is normal. Positive. Between 0 and 1, it is necessity good, right? So the inferior good is a negative income elasticity of demand. What does that mean? When income increases, consumers cut down the demand for those goods. A good example maybe the black and white TVs and the color TVs. Nowadays, very rarely people use black and white TVs. But what happens when family income increases, household income increases, people cut down their demand for black and white TVs, they start increasing demand for color TV. So what will happen? When family income increases, initially if you have black and white TV, when family income increases, you cut down the demand for family income increases, demand for black and white TV goes down. In that case, the black and white TV is inferior. Hello? 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 Black and white TVs is the inferior good. Is an inferior good. Is an inferior good in the case of right. Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah, all right. So the black and white TV is an inferior good because of the income elasticity. When a family income increases, people cut down the demand for black and white TV. Inferior good. Now the another example is wheat flour. Wheat flour is in the state sector. In Sri Lankan economy, the geographically we divide into the three the sectors: urban sector, rural sector, state sector. State people are living. Central province, the tea growing areas, these people, these workers are living in state sector, urban, rural, state. In the state sector, 1970s, 60s, the wheat flour is the main staple, the consumption good, food consumption good, 1970s, 60s, yes. Then when their income increases, they from wheat flour to, they start going for other consumption goods. Wheat flour demand decreases. So state sector, it is an inferior good, right? State inferior good in the state sector those days, those period, right? It is nowadays, of course, consumption pattern is more or less same, uniform, unique in all over the world, right? You don't have specifically rice is main staple. A long time ago, this the state sector, wheat flour was the key consumption good. So then when their income, they were relatively poor, then their income increases, they shift their consumption from wheat flour to other goods, maybe rice, other type of goods. Therefore, inferior good is Vitla is an state sector. It was an inferior good, right? For the income elasticity of demand, depending on the sign, positive or negative, we classify goods: normal, inferior. Value greater than 1, between 0 and 1. We classify goods: greater than 1, luxury; between 0 and 1, necessity. Right? Okay. Now, yeah. If any question, please ask me. Please ask me any question. Right. Next. Cross price elasticity of demand, CPED, cross price elasticity of demand. Now, so far we have discussed demand, price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand in relation to one particular good. But the cross price elasticity of demand, we consider two goods: tea and coffee, tea and sugar, tea and milk, tires and tubes. Two goods or two services: service of the HNB and service of Sampath Bank. Two goods, two services, right? Service of RCD Hospital and service of Lanka Hospital. Two goods, right? Two services, two types of services, and define this elasticity. What does that mean? When price of good B increases, when price of good B changes, what would happen to the quantity demanded of good A? When price of RCD Hospital changes, what would happen to the demand for the Lanka Hospital, service of Lanka Hospital? When price of tea, coffee increases, what would happen to the quantity demanded of tea? So therefore, denominator and numerator and denominator, you have two goods. Definition: percentage change in quantity demanded of a good A divided by percentage in the price of good B. Two goods. Percentage change in quantity demanded of tea divided by percentage change in price of sugar. Right? Then CPD, similar to this other two measures, we can define CPD. You make denominator 1%. If make 1%, CPD equals numerator delta QED, denominator 1. Now we can define what is CPD. CPD is the cross price elasticity of demand, is the percentage change in quantity demanded of good A when price of good B changes by 1%. Denominator 1, right? When price of tea changes by 1%, what is the percentage change in quantity demanded of coffee? That is the cross price elasticity of demand between tea and coffee. Right? It is the percentage change in the quantity demanded of a good demanded when the price of another good increases or changes by 1%. Should not increases, take that, it changes by 1%. 1%. Tea price changes by 1%. What would happen to percentage change in quantity demand of coffee? Right. PC. Cross price elasticity of demand. Again, like income elasticity of demand, we identified basically two types of goods. Cross price elasticity of demand could be positive. Substitutes, tea and coffee. Substitutes. Service of Sampath Bank, service of HNB, substitute services. To calculate cross price elasticity between these services, they are substitute. It is positive. Substitutes. Complementary goods, tea and sugar. Unique consumer wants both tea and sugar. Both tea and sugar. Cross price elasticity of demand, the negative. They are complementary goods. Complementary goods. Service of a Sampath Bank and service of a central bank. Complementary services, right? The complements. Third good category, cross price elasticity of demand could be zero. If we have only positive and negatives, all the goods and services in the world, there's some kind of relationship. Either they are substitutes or they are complement. So all the goods and services, substitutes or complement. No. There are some other categories, some other good. There are no connection at all. Not related at. So what is the cross price elasticity between them? Zero. Bread and guns. You can't say they are substitutes. You can't say they are complements. They are not related. Bread and guns. Then the cross price elasticity between bread and gun, zero. If it is zero, we call it the CPD between two goods or two services. Zero, we say this the two goods are or services, goods or services are non-related, no connection. CPD zero. CPD positive substitutes goods, CPD negative are the complementary goods, CPD zero, not related goods, not related goods. Right. Price elasticity of supply. Now, up to now we discussed demand curve. Factors that affect using the factors affect the demand side of the market. Price elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand. Cross price elasticity of demand. Now we discuss another measure, price elasticity of supply side. Similar to the demand side, definition is same. Percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. Right? Definition is very easy. You make denominator 1. 1% change in price. Then PES equals percentage change in quantity supplied. Then you can define what is PES. PES is, it is the percentage change in quantity supplied when price of that good or service changes by 1%. PES is defined as the percentage change in quantity supplied of a good resulted by a 1% change in the price of that good. Understand? That is the price elasticity of supply. What do you think about the sign of the price elasticity of supply? Positive or negative? Positive or negative? When price increases, producers are willing to supply more. Quantity supplied increases. This increases, positive. Quantity supplied increases, positive. Positive, positive. Divided by this positive. If price decreases, negative. Quantity supplied decreases, negative, negative. Again, it is positive. So price elasticity of supply is always positive. Price elasticity of demand is negative. Price elasticity of supply is positive. Right? Okay. Similar to the price elasticity of demand, it could be greater than 1, less than 1, 0, infinity, like that. Relatively elastic supply. Supply curve is upward sloping, flatter. If you get these, you have to indicate that this is y-axis price, quantity supplied, QS. Price, quantity supplied, QS. Right? If price increases by 1%, quantity supplied changes more than 1%. Relatively elastic supply. Elasticity greater than 1. Relatively inelastic, price increases by 1%, but quantity supplied changes less than 1%. Relatively inelastic supply. Demand curve is steeper. Sorry, supply curve is steeper. Supply curve is flatter. Elastic supply. Elastic. Then perfectly inelastic supply. Price, perfectly inelastic supply. Whatever the price change, quantity supplied, no change in quantity supply. Footballers. Very few are the world-class footballers. Whatever the price you pay, we have only Messi and I'm not very much familiar with these football players. Very few top-class players. Elasticity of supply is, price elasticity is a vertical supply. Cricketers, world-class cricketers. Either it is perfectly inelastic, or you can say it is relatively inelastic. Right? It's a special talent. Right? Therefore, the elasticity is not flat elasticity. Perfectly elastic supply. Vertical. Right? So I think up to that point we discussed. So the from this lesson we discussed 4 measures: price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, cross price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of demand. You have to know definitions, formulas, uses and factors, determinants in the case of price elasticity of demand. Then by looking at the value or the sign of the elasticity, how do you classify goods? Income elasticity of demand is positive for normal goods, negative for an inferior good, greater than 1 for a luxury good, between 0 and 1 for necessity. Cross price elasticity of demand, positive for substitutes, negative for the complementary goods or service, 0 for non-related goods or service, like that. Price elasticity of demand always negative, price elasticity of supply always positive. Then we discuss uses. Then we discuss the determinants of price elasticity of the demand. Okay. Now from this point we'll stop this lesson. Any questions? Any questions? Please ask me. Any question? I think now I can answer. Any questions about this clarifications? Please ask me. Now I can hear you. Or yeah. Yeah, trends and fashion. Good, Manoharan. Yes. Right. Good. Now we'll move to the next lesson. Theory of consumer behavior. Next lesson. Theory of consumer behavior. Now we have discussed basically basic concepts. Then we discuss the theory of demand or market forces. Then we discuss elasticity. Now again, this is also the demand side of the market. Theory of consumer behavior. Consumers represent demand side of the market. We demand goods. We demand services. When you go to the supermarket or the village boutique or the village fair, Sunday fair, you demand goods. You are a consumer. Then, now in this lesson we have how does a consumer demand goods? How does he take decisions? You have some income. You have some income. Let's say monthly income is the 25,000, 40,000. Then with that income, how do you demand? How do you allocate your income among goods and services? How do you demand goods? For the prices, you cannot control. The prices are given. You are a price taker in the market economy. In a free enterprise economic system, you are a price taker. You can't change. Your income is also fixed. Therefore, how does the consumer take decision, allocate his income? Now, this is the key issue we are going to discuss in this chapter. The theory of consumer behavior attempts to answer the question, how does a consumer allocate incomes to the purchase of different goods and services? Right? Now, in this case, now let's discuss a little bit more about when you go to the market, if you want to buy a pair of shoes, then a sari or the handbag, right? What are the factors? Price, of course, you consider. Not only that, you consider your satisfaction, whether you like it or not, color, the fashion or the taste, your likes and dislikes, your preference, that also matters. Utility, satisfaction also, right? Then now here we are going to develop the model about this, description about the consumer, behavior of a consumer in the market economy, right? What is the objective of consumer? Then what are the market constraints? Because his income is limited, he cannot control the prices. These are some of the limitation. Objective, utility, satisfaction, right? Okay. Now in this model, we have two approaches. First one is the marginal approach. Marginal, using marginal utility theory, we try to develop the model, explain the behavior of a consumer. Second approach is indifference curve analysis, another approach, more advanced approach, more recent approach. Using the indifference curve analysis, again, you try to explain the same concept, model the behavior of a consumer in the market. When you go to the shop to buy things, what are the factors that govern your decision? Right? Govern your decision. Because you have constraints, income limited, prices cannot be controlled, then the change, then you are, on the other hand, your utility, satisfaction, likes and dislikes. Very simple model. Always you try to maximize your satisfaction subject to your budget. That is the final, the objective of a consumer in this model. That is the final outcome of this consumer. Try to maximize the utility subject to budget. Okay, two approaches, two theories. The marginal analysis based on the concept of utility. Utility is the satisfaction of consumer received from consuming goods, services. It assumes the utility can be measured. Yeah, right. Okay. Now, what is the objective of a consumer? Why do you eat? Why do you sleep? Why do you drink water? Why do you play? Why do you watch? Why do you browse the FB? Go to FB. What is the objective? Tell me. What is the objective of consumption of a good or service? What is the objective? Objective is what? Tell me.
Self-satisfaction.
Satisfaction. Satisfaction. Good. To get some satisfaction. Now, sometimes some students say it is a survival. No, not the survival of the food is, of course, you can say survival. But watching TV is not a survival. Survival. The playing, the going to FB is not so survival. Satisfaction. Satisfaction. Technical term for satisfaction is in economics is utility. To get some utility, we consume. We consume service, good or service. Right? Utility is the key. Then next question is, can utility be measured? You eat one chocolate. Can you measure utility? 2 chocolates. Can you measure utility? 3 chocolates. Can you measure utility? Utility, how many utils? 3, 4, 10, 15. So the if utility can be measured, we call it is cardinal measure of utility. Can be measured. If utility cannot be measured, we call it is ordinal measure of utility. Now, the first approach, marginal approach analysis, assumes utility can be measured. 2 chocolates, 10 utils. 3 chocolates, 15 utils. Like that, they develop this model assuming utility can be measured, cardinal measure of utility, satisfaction. Second approach is basically assumes utility cannot be measured. Consumer can rank different bundles. I like apple to banana. I like banana to oranges. Oranges to apple. I like that. Liking means you get more utility. You get more utility, right? That is the consumer can rank different bundles, different goods, different services according to his taste, preference. That is called ordinal measure of utility. Ordinal measure, ordinal measure. Right. Now the we'll first discuss the first approach, marginal approach. Right, marginal analysis. First, the model, the utility can be measured. Marginal analysis as utility can be measured. 2 concepts: total utility, marginal utility. Total satisfaction, marginal satisfaction. Suppose a consumer eats 5 oranges. the total satisfaction he gets from this is called the total utility. Total utility. 5 oranges. 5. Suppose he now consumes one extra orange, 6th orange. The extra satisfaction he gets from consuming this orange is called the marginal utility of the 6th orange. Utility of the last unit. That is called marginal utility. Marginal utility. Total satisfaction, marginal utility. Total utility, marginal utility. What is the relationship between the total utility and the marginal utility? For example, let's say 5 oranges gives him 100 utils. 100 utils. Total utility 100. 5 oranges. All 6 oranges, all 6 gives him 110 satisfaction. Total utility is 110. 6 oranges, 110. First few oranges, 100. Then additional utility of the 6th orange, marginal utility of 6th orange is 10. 110 minus 100. That is the marginal utility of the 6th orange. Now, there's a relationship between TU and MU. TU and MU. What is TU and MU relationship? MU is, here there's some missing here. Typo, you have to underline this here between this delta TU divided by delta Q. Marginal utility is defined as the extra utility obtained from a small unit change in the consumption of a given service. 110 is the utility of the total 6. 100 is the utility of the total 5. So change is TU2 minus TU1, 110 minus 100 divided by 6 minus 5, MU. That is 10. 110 minus 100, TU2 minus TU1 divided by 6 minus 5, 1. That is marginal utility of the 6th orange is 10. That is relationship between, mathematical relationship between TU and MU. Then graphically, right. Now, just another example to understand the difference between total utility and the marginal utility. Interesting example. Read these 2 examples. Read the example. Read the example. I'll give 2 minutes. Just to understand the difference between total utility and marginal utility. Explain the following observations. 2 observations. Number 1, if consumers were asked to choose between giving up completely either consumption of water, no water, you are not allowed to consume water, or visiting the Facebook, no Facebook, stop consuming water. Most would choose to give up visit to the FB. Consumers will say, okay, I will stop going to FB. I can't stop the consumption of water. Number 2, suppose now they were asked to choose between having an extra 1,000 liters of water per week or 1 extra hour visit per week to the FB. The answer is less predictable. First case, definitely they will agree to stop visiting FB rather than stopping the consumption of water. Second case, additional 1,000 liters, additional 1 hour. Some consumers might say, okay, this additional 1 hour of FB, I need more this one. than the water, 1000. Another consumer might say additional 1000 water is more important than the 1 hour FB. Some people say, oh, I don't mind 1000 watt or FB, I don't mind. That's why it is less predictable. First case, definitely, you will stop going to the FB rather than stopping consumption of water. If you are given the choice. Why is that? Water has more utility than FB. Total utility of water is higher than total utility of Facebook. Visiting Facebook. That is, therefore, total utility higher than consumption of consuming water than visiting FB. Therefore, definitely, they might say, okay, FB, I will give up going to FB and I can't stop consuming water. Second example, it depends. It depends on marginal utility of 1 hour water, 1000 liters of water and 1 hour of FB. For me, if marginal utility of going FB, 1 hour of FB is higher than 1000 liters of water, I would say, okay, I will go for FB. For one of you, if the 1000 liters of water, marginal utility of 1000 liters of water higher than 1 hour of FB, you might say, I will go for take 1000 liters per week. Another person, indifferent. He doesn't mind. He doesn't mind 1000 liters of water or the 1 hour FB. Don't care. Indifferent. Right? Same marginal utility. Same utility. But the second case depends on how your valuation, how do you assess 1 hour FB and 1000 liters of water. For some, marginality of FB may be higher than the marginality of water. Some other, marginality of 1000 water may be higher than marginality of 1 hour FB. That's why it is unpredictable, less predictable. First one, of course, definitely they will not going for FB because my total utility of water is higher than the total utility of FB. Right. Right. Complete the above table. Complete the above table. Quantity consumption 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Then total utility. Total utility is 0. First unit 22 units of this consumption, total satisfaction 35, 3 units 45, 4 units 50, 5 units 53, 6 units 55, like that, 10 units 53. You have to complete, calculate marginal utility of the first unit, marginal utility of the second unit. Can you tell me what is the marginal utility of the first unit? Change in total utility divided by change in quantity. What is marginal utility of first unit? 20. 20 minus 0 divided by 1 minus 0 is 20. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Then the complete was second unit. What is the second unit? Marginal utility of the second unit?
15.
15. Third unit?
10.
10. Yes. Fourth unit? 5. 5. That you can calculate marginal utility schedule and the total utility schedule. Then second question, they say draw. Sorry. Ask me. Any question? Second question, draw the TU and MU curves. Draw the TU and MU curves. Now I'll go to the board. Actually, I have drawn these curves. Yeah, it is there. Total utility curve, quantity axis 1 to 10. Marginal utility curve, total utility when the quantity is 0, total utility is 0. 0, 0. Quantity 1, total utility 20. 2, 35. Like that, you can draw that. Total utility curve, total utility increases, come to maximum point and then decreases. you can see what will happen to the total utility. Increases 20, 35, 45, 50, 53, up to 56. Increases. After that, after 8, 7 to 8, start falling. It's an inverted U-shaped curve. Starting from 0, come to the maximum point, decreases. Total utility curve. But the marginal utility curve, what will happen? You can see 20, 20, 15, 10, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, minus 1, minus 3. Then what will happen? Marginal utility curve continuously diminishing, continuously falling, continuously 20, 15, 10, 5, 3, 0, then minus 2, minus 3, minus 1, minus 3. Total utility curve increasing, come to maximum point, then decreases. Right. Now this is the normal shape of this total and the marginal utility curves. Total, when a consumer increase the consumption of a good or service, total satisfaction increases, come to the maximum and then decreases. Chocolate. 1 chocolate, 2 chocolate, 5 chocolate, 10 chocolates, 15 slabs, 13 slabs, come to the maximum. But total satisfaction decreases. Marginal utility, what will happen? Utility of the last unit, first chocolate, second chocolate, third chocolate, it diminishing, 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 come to 0 and then negative. Marginal utility could be negative. When marginal utility is 0, total utility maximum. Marginal utility is 0. At this point, marginal utility is 0, no? Total utility maximum. Then graphically we drew the total utility and the marginal utility curve. Now the economics behind this. Mathematically you can draw, you can calculate, you can draw the curves, you can mark the graphs, but what is economics? Economics is very important. These causes principles of economics. These two curves shows fundamental law in economics, a universal law in economics. Hello, hello, hello. You are disturbing. Please switch off your. Someone is talking, right? So if you can't, please reduce the volume, right? Okay. Then these two curves. Behind these two curves has a very important, very strong, very important, vital the fundamental law in economics. Total utility is increasing, come maximum, and then decrease. Marginal utility continuously diminishes. Right? It is called. Anyone, can you tell me this law in economics? What is that law? Please tell me. One of you can tell me. It's a basic. And you do your CIMA, chartered, or the first year degree, A-level economics. This is a fundamental law. What is this law? Tell me.
Law of diminishing marginal utility.
Very good. Very good. Yes. It is the law of diminishing marginal utility. The law of diminishing marginal utility. What does that mean? When a consumer increase the consumption of a good or service, the marginal utility eventually diminishes. That's very important. This marginal utility, in my case, I have drawn that the negatively slope continues, but it is negative. I will go to this point. Yes. Yeah. Right. Now can you hear me? Now this is the one. Total utility curve is like this. marginal utility curve I have drawn it continuous diminution, but it can be like this. It can be like this. MU curve, ETU curve. Marginality can increase, but eventually diminishes. Obviously diminishes. So that's the thing. This curve, the law of diminishing marginality curve says that when consumer increase the consumption of a good or service quantity, marginal utility eventually diminishes. It might increase initially, slight increase, but eventually diminishes. Right? Consumption of any good or service. For example, sometimes people are drinking beer or drinking alcohol. Right? First glass of beer or the first shot, second shot, third shot, it might increase, third drink. But 10, 15 marginal utility of the next glass of drink or the whiskey diminishes. But initially it might increase. Initially it might increase. Eventually diminishes. Eventually diminishes. That is the law. Right? That's very important. You can't say it always decreases. No, might increase. Right? That's why the law says might increase, but eventually diminishes. Right? Eventually diminishes. Right? Now this is a fundamental law in economics. A fundamental law in economics. This is applicable consumption of any good or service. This is true for not only for Sri Lanka, US, any other country, all over the world. The universal law, fundamental law in economics, fundamental law, the law of diminishing marginal utility, very basic law in economics, right? In the life, you can apply this to any situation in the life, right? So when you consume, when you're reading, when you're studying, what will happen initially? First half an hour, second half an hour, it might increase, but continuously if you increase, marginal utility of the study diminishes. If you continue beyond this point, marginality will be negative. Next hour, next half an hour, next half an hour, negative marginal utility. For example, we started this class at the 10:30. First 15 minutes, second 15 minutes, third 15 minutes, fourth 15 minutes, like that. Marginal utility up to this point might increase, but marginal utility definitely decreases. This year, marginal utility is 0. If I continue after that, marginal utility will be of the next half an hour negative. Now this is interesting. Physically, if you are physically present, I can see, I can observe your eyes, and then you are sleepy. You fell asleep. You are not bored. You are yawning. So then I can see, okay, marginal utility now it is 0 or nearly 0. I should change the topic. I should crack some jokes, right? Otherwise, it will be negative. But nowadays, what will happen? Still, maybe some of you, more majority of you, may marginal utility maybe 0, but I can't observe. Can't tell, right? If it is negative, it is 0 here. Marginal utility of our lesson. First 15 minutes, second 15 minutes. So still some of you may be negative here. Some of you is negative. So I is talking we can't understand anything. Therefore, it is the board. Your board, your board will be negative. But some may be here. Still falling, but positive. It is the marginal, the law of marginal utility says it is yeah, I go to this. No, sorry. Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay, okay.
Sir.
Now, yeah, ask me. Any question? Yeah. So this is the law of diminishing marginal utility. So the law of diminishing marginal utility, the marginal utility of consumption of any good or service eventually diminishes. That's why I said it is eventually. Always it won't decrease, but it might increase initially, but eventually diminishes. Obviously diminishes, right? Consumption of any good or service. Increase, decrease, right? Okay. Think about lots of example in the life, reading, studying, enjoying, sometimes watching the TV also, right? So the going FB also. Sometimes the eventually marginal diminishes, so you stop that, right? Okay. That is the behavior of. Now these are these two curves. Relationship between these two curves. When Q is increasing, when total utility is increasing, marginal utility is positive and falling. When Q is at maximum point, marginal utility is 0. When Q is falling, marginal utility is negative. Now this is the relationship between these two curves. Graphically, we discussed, we drew the two graphs, we discussed the economics behind this curve. Economics means the law behind these two curves, the law of diminishing marginal utility, right? Okay. Next one. Now this again further we discuss this is still we are discussing the marginal analysis, marginal approach. Then what is the basic assumption of the marginal the consumer? What is the basic objective of consumption? You drink water, you eat, you sleep, you play, you buy things, you watch TV. Why? You can say it is to get some satisfaction, but final objective is to get the maximum satisfaction. That is the objective of a consumer. Objective of a consumer, objective of consumption is to attain the maximum, get the maximum satisfaction or maximum utility. However, the consumer always has some constraints. You all have constraints. You want to attain the maximum satisfaction, but there are some constraints. What are these constraints? Our income is a constraint, limited. We don't have the unlimited income, no, it is limited. Monthly income, annual income, limited. Then prices. Prices, we cannot control the prices. We are price takers. In a free enterprise economic system or market economy, consumers are price takers. What does that mean? Consumers cannot influence, cannot change the prevailing price in the market. When you go to supermarket, price is stacked. Then most of the shops, prices are fixed. Consumers cannot change prices, especially competitive market, perfect competition, consumers are price takers. Free enterprise economic system, consumers are price takers. So the monopoly market, monopolist has already fixed the price, right? You don't change. Consumers are always in the receiving end. They can't change the price. Therefore, we call in the free enterprise economic system, consumers are price takers, not price makers. But firms, in some markets, firms are also price takers. Competitive market, perfect competition, firms are price takers. They have to accept the price determined by the market. But some other markets, firms can control the price. Monopoly market, you can fix the price. Electricity board, they are price setters, price makers. So the Ceylon tobacco, price takers, so price setters, they can fix the price. Oil, petroleum corporation, they can fix the price. Monopoly, right? That is the monopolized market. The firms are price setters, price makers. But if the monopoly market, competitive market, oligopoly market, any other market, poor consumers are price takers. You have to accept the prices, market price, price of rice, price of coconut. You can't you can influence, you can affect the price, you can change the price, you can bargain, but you have to accept the price. Bargaining point is starting point. 110 rupees per coconut, 120 rupees per coconut. You can't bargain now. Nowadays, it is very difficult to bargain. You pay 120 and buy coconut. Right? Bargaining, but still it's a price taken. The price taken, right? But some countries, of course, in our country, it is okay. You can't bargaining also. There are some range. The price is certain item. Let's say the items, especially these small boutiques, right? The small markets, right? Village market or the in the town or the bazaar. If you want to buy something, you can some kind of bargaining is there. You can bargain. If the trader says, seller says, okay, it is 300 rupees. You can bargain, okay, 250. Then he say, okay, no, sir, 270. Right? Then you say, no, 260. Like that bargaining. The three-wheeler. You take a tutu or the taxi, three-wheel taxi, three-wheel. From Bora to here, Maradan to here, he might charge 60 rupees or he might say 150. Then say, no, 150 is too much. I will pay 100. Then he say, no, sir, 100, not 100, 120. You bargain. But some countries, some other countries in the bazaar, you can bargain lot. Vietnam or the Philippines, when you say 300 rupees per the item, definitely without any hesitation, you can say it is, I will pay you 100 rupees. 300? 100. Right? 350 rupees. Still they are willing to sell you. Right? Some markets are highly, that kind of behavior is there. Vietnam also, this kind of bargaining, it can be, the range of bargaining is very large. But in Sri Lankan case, it is not the case, right? When you say 300, you can say, okay, 250 or 270. Finally, you will agree with 275, like that. But some other countries, huge. Informal market, bargaining is huge. India also, some markets, bargaining is huge, right? Philippines, Vietnam. But Japan, no bargaining. There are some bargaining market, but still very limited the bargaining process, right? Fixed price, that's all. Fix, if you buy, if you don't buy, let's go up. But in other countries, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, the India, some degree of bargaining. A degree of bargaining compared to Sri Lanka, it is very much high. You can bargain, right? Okay. But still, in the market, consumers are price takers. That is one of the constraints, limitation. Consumers cannot accept, you have to accept the price. Then consumers cannot control the income. Income is also fixed. That is also another constraint. But his objective, maximize the satisfaction. Think about when you go to the shop to buy a pair of shoes, your objective is to buy them. Get a shoe that maximizes your satisfaction. Also, limitations, income, price you cannot control, right? Then what will happen? Now, this point is very important. Even in the past papers, there are some questions. What is the basic problem, consumers' problem in the market economy? If you say maximize utility, wrong. His objective is to maximize the satisfaction subject to budget, subject to limitation. That is the more realistic and correct answer. Consumer's objective is to maximize the satisfaction, maximize the utility subject to his market constraint. That is more realistic answer. Relevant, realistic answer. You say maximize is to maximize the consumer's problem is to maximize utility, wrong. Not only maximize. Yes, maximize, but subject to your constraint. Subject to your constraint. Right. That's why I explained using so many examples just to understand this model, consumer's model. What is the objective? Then you can say again, once you understand this consumer's objective, you can understand consumer, the firm's problem also. What is firm's problem? Maximize profit subject to budget, subject to cost. Because the annual cost budget is limited. They may be willing to spend 40 million to buy higher inputs, labor capital inputs. But maximum profit maximizing objective. Utility maximization is objective, subject to a pocket, subject to a budget, right? So therefore, you have to understand. It is called constrained optimization. Another technical term. It is called constrained optimization. Not the unconstrained means global, no constraints. Constrained optimization. Optimize or maximize subject to this. That is called, more technical term is, it is called constrained optimization. Maximize utility subject to budget. Okay. Imagine a condition for utility maximization. If the consumer regards extra water to have same margin utility as an extra, okay. I'll come to this. You can read this. Now, this is the condition. Condition for utility maximization. Condition for utility maximization. We know it is consumer's objective is to maximize utility. Prices are given. Income is given. Utility you want to maximize. So, how does the consumer allocate his income? Income between these two goods. Let's assume there are two goods, X and Y. We know price of X is PX, price of Y is PY, MUX or MUX and MUY, marginality of X, marginality of Y, right? Then how does the consumer allocate his limited income between two goods? In other words, what is the utility maximizing bundle? At the utility maximizing point, how much of X, how much of Y will be purchased? That is the question. We will purchase subject to this constraint. What is the constraint? Marginal utility of X divided by price of X. Marginal utility of Y divided by price of Y. Let's, mathematical equation is there. Now let's discuss economics of this. Marginal utility of X divided by price. That means if you divide that by price, let's say price 10, MUX divided by 10. That means per rupee, how many marginal utilities can be purchased? If a price of Y is 5, MUY over 5 means per rupee, how many marginal utility units can be purchased? Right? Then we can say at the utility maximizing point, consumer allocate his income so that marginal utility per rupee spent on one good is equal to marginal utility per rupee spent on the other good. MUX over PX equals MUY over PY. That is the utility maximizing condition. If you spend a rupee on X, same rupee on Y, at the utility maximizing point, you should get same marginal utility, marginal satisfaction. Then only you maximize it. Let's take another example. If the marginal utility of X, MUX or PX is greater, you get higher marginal utility from rupee than from the Y. What do? You increase the consumption of X. If you get more marginal utility from a rupee on Y than on X, then you increase the consumption of Y. MUY, PY greater than MUX, PX, you increase the consumption of Y. MUX, PX or PX greater than MUY or PY, you increase the consumption of X. But if they are equal, you don't change your consumption plan. You are maximizing utility. You don't want to change. You don't want to increase or decrease, increase Y or increase, decrease Y, X or Y. You don't change. That is the utility maximizing point. At the utility maximizing point, marginal utility per rupee is same. If they are not, if one is higher, he will increase the consumption of that good. If the other one is higher, increase the consumption of that good. But as long as they are equal, you don't change. You don't change your consumption plan. That is the utility maximizing point. We'll discuss this. We'll continue this lesson next week. Of course, yeah, calculations are there. Please try this question. Please try. Next week we will start from this point on the board. Please, it's a homework question. I want to do this one and this one. This 2 questions, homework questions. Answer this and try the other one. Now this, of course, you can answer and try this one also. I want you to answer that one. Try this one. We'll discuss. Okay. So next week we will continue lesson from this point onward. So we'll break up now. We'll stop now. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. If you have any question, please go through the note and as I said, please maintain 2 separate files. Handouts and quizzes, separate file, because we discussed, I think we have discussed 3 quizzes. Answer those questions, maintain that separately. Maintain my handout separately. For every the handout, along with the handout, I will give you a quiz, right? Okay, right. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening me. We'll stop today. Thank you.